I'm going to accept me like this, because ultimately self-acceptance and self-love are byproducts of self-awareness. Welcome to Tall Girl in Bloom, a space for self-growth, mindfulness, and standing tall in who you are. Today, we are discussing the different ways you can increase your self-awareness in your day-to-day life. First, I want to give you all a loose definition of what self-awareness is, and that's essentially understanding your thought patterns, emotions, and behaviors. When it comes to self-awareness, I think a good place to start is by evaluating your core beliefs and values. We all know that when you start out in this world, whoever your guardians are, whoever's in your immediate space in those formative years, really inform what you believe about this world, and they also inform what you believe about yourself. So I think you need to evaluate not only what you're believing about society, but take a look and see what are some comments that people told you early on that you adapted as, okay, this must be who I am because all these people are saying this is who I am. I think there comes a time where you really need to just take a step back and see what aligns with your spirit, because you'll find that there are probably a lot of things that are outdated or a lot of things that you simply don't agree with, but you've just been hanging on to it because maybe your grandmother or somebody that you knew that you really valued told you that this was their belief, so you held that close to your heart and adopted it as your own belief. My second tip is to make sure that you become your own safe space. We hear about safe spaces a lot, especially in the climate of our world right now. We hear about the importance of having a safe space. I think it is very important to have external safe spaces, but the safest place should be when you are alone with yourself. A lot of times you hear people say, oh, I'm my own worst inner critic. Create a safe space for yourself where you can allow your thoughts to run free, you can allow your emotions to run free, and you basically show up for yourself in a non-judgmental way where you can actually see what is going on, what's going on with me, how am I feeling today. Create your own safe space, and that will ultimately build more trust within yourself as well, which I also think is very important in this journey. Another very important factor in self-awareness is observing how you respond to different situations. How many times have you been in a situation where you had a response that you didn't even know was in you, and then you got home and you're just like, wow, where did that come from? What triggered me to act this way? What triggered me to say this? It's very important to look within, evaluate where you are right now, because we do have a lot of triggers. A lot of us have a lot of healing that we need to do, and you need to take the time to see what the root of that issue is. So take some time with yourself, and you all know from my last video that I'm an advocate for journaling. Take some time to write out your thoughts, write out how you feel on a day-to-day basis. Look at some of your recent, I would say take maybe the last 3 situations where you react in a way that you feel is out of character for you. Evaluate what happened, try to look at it as objectively as you can, and see where those triggers are and how you can help yourself to heal in those areas. Or if there's something that's just a pet peeve to you and it's not necessarily rooted in any wound, take a look at that as well, because that can help to inform you who you are, how you respond to things, and then from there you can share that with your loved ones. And if they are people who value you, they are going to respect your boundaries, and they're going to know, okay, well, she doesn't like it when I say this, so when I'm around her, I'm going to be mindful not to say this. Something else that I would recommend doing if you are on an intentional journey towards self-discovery is taking a personality assessment. I'm sure a lot of us have heard of the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, which is a well-known assessment that's used to help people discover what career path they would be great at, or just discover their behavior patterns in general. And I took the Myers-Briggs for the first time back when I was a freshman in undergrad. I'm an INFJ, and I will say reading through the results definitely has moments where it's like, wow, this sounds exactly like how I am. This knows me to a T. And if you haven't taken one of those personality assessments before, I would definitely recommend it. You'll find also in the job space, sometimes assessments are offered as well. I know a few years ago, I took the DISC assessment. And what we did after we took the assessment is we got in a room, we went over our results. And the goal was so that my manager could know who she's working with and how she could better help us in our day-to-day tasks. We also did that so that as a team, we could know what the other person's style is, we could know what the other person's strengths and weaknesses were, and help to inform how we interact with them on a day-to-day basis. So if you are a college student right now, you can definitely take the Myers-Briggs for free. And in your workspace, you may want to inquire with HR if that's something that you're interested in doing. Maybe they can make that an initiative. But if you haven't taken any of those personality tests, and there's more than just the two that I mentioned, but if you haven't taken any personality assessment at this point, I think that's definitely a good place to start if you're trying to learn more about yourself and really look at your strengths and weaknesses. Lastly, I would recommend that you take an opportunity and really just take a step back, reflect on everything that you know about yourself, and try to look at yourself as objectively as possible. You may notice that I didn't put a tip to get feedback from anyone else, and that's just because I've come to learn that other people's opinions of you are very fickle. I've been in situations where people have placed me on a pedestal for no reason, and then I've also been in situations where people have looked down on me for no reason. So people will come into contact with you and they're gonna think what they want, and it really doesn't have much to do with you at all. So I would say when you're starting out with your journey, as much as possible, try to do the work, do all that inner work on your own first. And if at that point you feel like you still want feedback, perhaps at that time, get a trusted family member or a trusted friend that can actually give you valuable feedback about yourself. But otherwise, I would say take a look at yourself, look at your strengths, look at your weaknesses, and then decide whether or not there are things that you feel could be refined, or to say, okay, well, this is who I am and I'm going to accept me like this. Because ultimately, self-acceptance and self-love are byproducts of self-awareness. So it is important in this life, especially in helping to have better relationships with your peers, at work, with your family. It is great to know who you are, because then you can move more efficiently in life on a day-to-day basis. I can tell you for myself that my self-discovery journey really kicked into high gear around the age of 17, when I was graduating high school and pretty much trying to figure out life, figuring out what I wanted to do. It's like all of a sudden I looked around and I was like, what is going on? What is this? And ever since then, I've been actively on a self-discovery journey, refining, evolving. And I think that is very important to know who you are. Because if you don't know who you are, you're gonna let other people tell you who you are. And other people don't know. Other people are really not qualified to tell you who you are. Take the time to do the inner work and discover more about yourself, because the results are very rewarding, and it is great to be able to walk through life confidently, knowing who you are and knowing who you're not. You all let me know if you found these tips to be helpful. Let me know in the comment section. Last week, I really enjoyed reading through your comments, so let me know again if this was helpful for you, and I will be seeing you all next week.